Commercial radio host claims she was fired because of government pressure. Chinese applicants to Canada's investment migrant scheme cry foul. And Obama to go on a four-nation tour of Asia in April.
Hello and a very good evening. Outspoken radio host Li Weiling claimed today she was sacked because of government pressure on commercial radio. She hinted that the station's chief advisor, Stephen Chan, put pressure on her after coming into difficulties in license negotiations with the government. Both commercial radio and chief executive Leung Chun-ying have denied the allegation. Rani Samtani reports.
The usually gutsy critic of government policies and social injustice recalled in tears this afternoon the pressure she claimed she had come under. Commercial radio sacked her yesterday with no explanation. An unnamed person close to Chief Executive Leung Chun-ying, she claimed, had warned her earlier that her job might be at stake. She recalled how the radio station's CEO turned chief advisor Stephen Chan told her that he had trouble getting the government to talk to him about commercial radio's license renewal. Since then, he would come to my show every day with a notebook and then criticize me for the way I handled interviews, she said. I feel betrayed. I believe this has deep implications for press freedom in Hong Kong, she warned. Stephen Chan himself has replaced Li Weiling on the radio station's morning talk show. He denied today that the dismissal of Li had anything to do with the license renewal. But another radio host, Ken Kwok, wants answers from commercial radio. We need transparency and an explanation, he said. Li Weiling's sacking has sparked a debate on press freedom.
Absolutely, there's a political reason. 10 years ago, we came here and defend the freedom of speech of Albert Chan, Raymond Wong, and Li Panfei. And we haven't thought about, after 10 years, we have to come here again to defend the right to speech of Ms. Li Weiling. So we are very frustrated.
Stephen Chan said that other commercial radio hosts had been fired in the past, but he doesn't think those decisions have anything to do with press freedom. Speaking to the press this afternoon, Chief Executive Leung Chun-ying also denied that political pressure was imposed on commercial radio to fire Li. Rani Samtani, TVB News.
The end of an investor migrant scheme to Canada has sparked a wave of criticism from mainland applicants. One immigration consultant says some of his clients may look at other options. Jenny Lam has details.
Ottawa's decision to scrap its immigrant investor program has dashed Mr. Wu's hope of retirement in Canada. He lives in Guangzhou and applied to go to Canada a few years ago. The Canadian government is untrustworthy, says Wu. They shouldn't have promoted the scheme in the first place so that everybody rushed to apply. Canadian government figures show that they have more than 65,000 investment migrant applications in hand, more than 70% of them from Chinese people. To qualify, applicants must be worth at least 1.6 million Canadian dollars, plus make an 800,000 Canadian dollar loan to the government. The Canadian government announced that the scheme will be abolished as part of its budget this year. Canadian authorities have stopped accepting new applications since July 2012. Now, all applicants will get their money back. John Ray Liang, an immigration consultant in Guangdong, explains that most Chinese migrants neither work nor do business in Canada, so they do not bring much benefit in taxes or job creation in their new home country. Eddie Kwan, an immigration consultant in Hong Kong, does not rule out that some of his clients may seek litigation.
I think behind the scene, it looks like, the Chinese people are not that welcome at this moment, because most of the applications is from mainland China. I think that's the main reason why they, set up the new policy for the immigration.
He says his clients may opt to go to the United States, Australia or Europe. One immigration consultant says Portugal is now the preferred destination for Chinese migrants. Jenny Lam, TVB News.
Turning overseas now, 6 months after his planned tour of Asia was shelved, US President Barack Obama has announced a four-nation visit to the region in April. China is not on Obama's itinerary this trip, but at a time of rising regional tension, China and its regional neighbors will be watching the high-level tour very closely. James Aiken reports.
The Asia tour is an attempt by the U.S. to restart its engagement and commitment to the increasingly influential region. The trip will include stops in Japan, South Korea, Malaysia, and the Philippines. Last year's U.S. government shutdown forced Barack Obama to scrap a similar planned visit to the region. In 2012, Obama declared his administration's so-called pivot to Asia by attempting to rebalance U.S. diplomatic and military resources towards the region. But Obama's continued absence in the region has raised questions about America's commitment to Asia, while China's influence continues to grow. The White House says Obama will meet the leaders of all four nations to address diplomatic issues, free trade agreements, and U.S. defense treaties and security matters. Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry arrived in South Korea today on a mission aimed largely at reducing acrimony between China and its smaller neighbors over competing territorial claims in the East and South China Seas. The U.S. and its allies want China to roll back a series of increasingly assertive steps in the region, which include the harshly criticized Air Defense Identification Zone over the East China Sea. Kerry hopes to find ways to improve relations between Japan and its neighbors after a recent spike in resentment over visits by the Japanese Prime Minister to the controversial Yasukuni War Shrine. Kerry will also explore the possibility of restarting long-stalled talks on ridding North Korea of nuclear weapons. South Korean officials are expected to brief him on recent high-level talks between the two countries amid upcoming U.S.-South Korean military exercises. Kerry then takes the same issues to the negotiating table as he visits China on Friday. James Aiken, TVB News.
Well, French President François Hollande continued his trip to the United States with a stop in San Francisco, where he received the key to the city. He also met with heads of leading technology companies, some of which have recently run afoul of French laws. Alan Buckner with this report.
We San Franciscans value our relationship with France and how important the French community is to our character and to our quality of our city. It is with great honor that I hereby present to you the city's highest honor, the key to the city of San Francisco.
Hollande is the second French president to be awarded the honor after François Mitterrand about 30 years ago. There are 60,000 French people living in San Francisco, and 300 French companies have offices there. Some of them expressed giddiness at the show of support from the French government, given the intense competition French innovators face from companies from Germany, Finland, and Ireland. Later in the day, at a French restaurant in San Francisco, Hollande met with senior figures of high-profile tech companies, including Google, Facebook, and Twitter. Those companies have faced scrutiny by French regulators over issues such as privacy, data protection, and hate language. Over the weekend, Google posted a statement on its French website noting that France's digital privacy watchdog found the search engine giant in violation of rules ensuring data privacy. In late 2012, Twitter agreed to pull racist and anti-Semitic tweets sent under a French hashtag. A Jewish group was threatening to sue the company for breaching French laws against hate speech. While the French president points to the U.S. technology industry as an economic success he hopes to replicate at home, he has also been among the leaders in Europe's fight in what it sees as a systematic attempt by tech firms to invade privacy and avoid paying their fair share of taxes. Alan Buckner, TVB News.
Britain has a major flooding crisis on its hands. Many parts of southwest England have been underwater for weeks after the country's wettest January in nearly 250 years. Hurricane-force winds and rains have left so many residents either stranded in their homes or without a home. The epic floods have drenched the southwestern coast of England, the low-lying Somerset Levels, and the Thames Valley west of London. On top of 16 severe flood warnings in place, the Met Office issued its highest level of alert, saying Wales and northwest England could face wind gusts of up to 160 kilometers per hour. Among the hardest hit areas is the village of Raysbury, where severe flooding wreaked havoc when the River Thames burst its banks. Flooding was so bad in Somerset, those trying to minimize the deluge had to call it quits.
We've had to suspend operations on the riverbank for fear of being blown into the river.
This man blames the government for ignoring flood prevention measures.
The government hasn't spent enough money on dredging and maintaining the River Thames for the last 20 to 30 years. Also, they have not made the infrastructure flood resistant.
Powerful winds in Surrey had residents in a state of fright.
I've never experienced wind like this. I mean, when the tiles are just flying like confetti around you.
This family had to be rescued as their home was swallowed up by water. Prime Minister David Cameron vowed to work fast on relief for the masses.
That we will be introducing a grant for all affected homeowners and businesses to build in better flood protection as they repair their properties. That will be up to £5,000 per house and per business.
A surreal scene in the town of Worcester where a flock of swans floated precariously on the flooded streets. Power to over 80,000 homes in Wales has been cut off and the military has been called in to help. Elsewhere in England, tens of thousands of people have been left in the dark, where getting help is impossible because roads are underwater.
The highest level talks between the two Koreas in 7 years ended with little progress yesterday. South Korean officials said today that's because of a North Korean demand that the South delay military drills with the US until after reunions of family members separated since the Korean War. Seoul refused the North's demand. The reunions are scheduled for February 20th and will end 5 days later. The military drills are set for February 24th, but South Korea won't delay them for a couple of days. It says it won't link a purely humanitarian matter with a military issue. In a similar situation last September, Pyongyang cancelled the reunions. Some analysts say that might not happen this time round because Pyongyang is seen as needing good ties with Seoul to pursue outside investment and to resume lucrative joint ventures with the South.
And still ahead in our newscast, an international school seeks government help over lease renewal. Additional charges against the Kwok brothers in a corruption case. And in Kentucky, a sinkhole swallows 8 cars at a museum.
Starring Chow Yun-fat and Cherry Chang. Friday, Solvile Titus Timeless Love presents An Autumn's Tale on Pearl's Season of Love. Swarovski presents Say I Love You.
You know I love you, I always will, 'cause all my love you can depend.
Pearl's Season of Love.